I got my stepson interested in boxing. He got suspended for standing up to his bully, and now my wife is very angry with me. My stepson Landon recently told us he was being bullied at school. That night, on the back porch, I taught him how to wrap his hands and throw the jab. When my wife Lucia and I were in bed, she said she was concerned that I leading him in a bad direction, but I told her I believed it was important for Landon to learn to defend himself. Despite our disagreement, Landon and I continued training. These days we do road work, running. Most mornings and I coach him through some rounds of shadowboxing, air punching, before I drive him to school. He showed good progress and is turning into a great outboxer. We even bonded over his interest in a boxing anime, and I feel like we've never been closer. Recently though, he got into an altercation with his bully at school, resulting in a suspension. He broke it down for me when he got home before he told his mom, and I almost teared up. I was so proud of him. While I felt proud of his ability to stand up for himself, Lucia was upset. She knows I was bullied in high school, it's why I learned, and she said I was projecting my trauma onto this situation. This issue has strained our relationship. Lucia believes I'm living vicariously through Landon and worries about the dangers of boxing. She also thinks he should focus more on academics. On the other hand, I see boxing as a way for Landon to build confidence and discipline. I know I need to find a balance between supporting Landon and supporting my wife at the same time. I love them both so much. I told her I was opening to limiting his training or ensuring it doesn't interfere with his studies. She thinks he is going to turn into a bully and get chronic traumatic encephalopathy, CTE. I feel like if I tell Landon he can't train anymore, he will feel betrayed. In my heart of hearts, I really don't think I was wrong for teaching him, but I feel like I was wrong somehow by not respecting my wife's perspective more. Thank you for the perspectives. I am going to talk to my wife and Landon and show them this comments after school today. If you want to know what happened, it's not so simple. Shane has a scooter and his friends catch Landon when he walks home from school and push him down, take his money, pour out his books in his backpack, put a padlock on his backpack, pour Coca-Cola on him, push him into gross water. We cannot drive him because we are working. The public transport does not go to our house, which is on the town outskirts up in a hill, and the bus does not go all the way this way. My wife tried to talk to Shane's mom, and his mom says that Shane doesn't do this and that my wife is lying. Landon is tall and skinny and does not have power, so he must run or dodge and counter. People at school were learning that he has been training. He was walking home from school and he got surrounded by many kids. He said he dropped his backpack and tried to escape, but they pushed him back. He said that Shane, this boy in his same class but taller and bigger and stronger, told him to square up and his fists did not protect his face. Landon threw one jab to feel his reaction, so Landon throws first punch. Shane leaned far backward, still not protecting his face. He told me he used this information just like training to next throw a feint jab. Shane leans far back again, and as he comes forward, Landon hits him with a straight right in his nose, causing him tears. Shane walks at him in anger and Landon uses lateral movement to move around him in the circle. When he pivots, he throws jabs or hooks to the side of Shane's face, just like in training. Landon hits him maybe 10 times before Shane gives up because his face is swollen and bloody. Landon was never hit. I did not want to say much about this because it makes me feel proud and both ashamed. Thank you for the advice, and I will talk to Lucia and I hope we can resolve the tension. Thank you all. Learning to box does not mean learning to be violent. It's good for his physique as well as his sense of well-being. Schools have a zero-tolerance policy, but standing up for yourself decreases chances of being targeted. Family therapy might help with understanding differing perspectives. Am I the antagonist for commenting on my date's appearance when he was being rude? I, 23 years old female, have a friend I'll call Anna. We are not best friends but close enough that we hang out and text somewhat frequently. She knows that I'm currently single and offered to set me up with her brother, 29 years old male, on a blind date. I was happy and said yes because I was curious. When we had the date, it was probably one of the worst dates I've ever had. He talked only about himself, was rude to the waitress, and kept making off-putting comments about my body like you have good breasts, but you should lose some weight or do some squats for your butt. Then you can be considered curvy and not overweight. Or are you sure you want the fries? Gotta watch your calories and other similar things. For context, I'm not overweight by any means. I struggle sometimes with anorexia but currently good with an average weight for my height. I laughed it off and changed topics, but I already knew it wasn't going to work out. After a bit I made excuses and we left. At this point, he tried to take me to his house, insinuating a hookup. I politely said no. He continues pressing me, saying I know you want it, don't lie. I said definitely no, and explained that his behavior was rude and off-putting. He said something about how all us women enjoy a guy that's mean to them and how we like to put up a fight. At this point I might be the ass, a hole. I said this exactly yes, but those men have to look a lot better than you for women to enjoy that, which is actually my honest opinion. He looked visible taken aback, so I tried to explain that I had no issue with his looks if he had a good personality, but to pull off saying the things he said he would have to be a supermodel or something. He was clearly upset, so we split the check and went our separate ways. Anna asked me in chat how it went, and I replied that we weren't right for each other and both said some mean things. She said it was a pity it didn't work out and that's it. A week later I kept trying to message her and call but she wouldn't respond, but I didn't pay too much attention to it. Today I met a mutual friend of me and Anna. She said that Anna was really mad at me. Apparently her brother struggles a lot with body and looks issues, and after my comments was in depression and refusing to date ever again. My friend said that even though he was rude to me, I didn't have to comment on his looks. I can see that I was unnecessarily hurtful, but under the context I do not regret it. Was I the a-hole? Will Anna ever forgive me? Anna's brother was out of line with his wildly inappropriate comments and refusal to listen to boundaries. You gave him a shock to the system that he needed, and this situation wouldn't have escalated if he had acted like a normal human being. Anna may only know his version of events, but standing up for yourself and speaking the truth was entirely justified. It's important not to tolerate mistreatment, regardless of appearance or status. My wife has the world's smallest spending problem and it's driving me nuts. Every time she leaves the house she comes back with some kind of trinket or small ornament and says, "It was only $3. We have a small 2-bedroom apartment and we're very disorganized. The second bedroom is effectively a storage room where we have just tossed all the things we don't use but can't throw away. Every surface of my home is cluttered with some sort of Tupperware or pizza box or random knickknack. I've never broached the topic with her because she is very sensitive and I just don't want to deal with it. Today, when she left the house to pick up a prescription, I casually told her not to buy anything. She said she might get an energy drink but nothing else. Then she came home with a glass mushroom and a plastic light-up cloud. Why? I specifically said not to do this and she said she wouldn't. I didn't blow up or get mad. I just didn't say anything when she showed me her purchases. I think she could tell I was disappointed because she started getting visibly anxious. A few minutes later, I brought up my frustration with her spending habit. She burst into tears and started rushing around the house saying she would return them. I told her I'm not upset with her. I just want her to stop cluttering the house with things we have no room for. She ended up running off to the bedroom to lie down, slamming the door on the way. Ultimately, I think I'm insecure about not being able to afford a bigger place that could sustain her incessant purchases. But the fact is that we don't really have the money for her to spend this frivolously, even if it is only $3. I should add, I love my wife very much. She's an excellent partner in so many other ways. It's just this one thing that's bugging me. It sounds like you need to address this with your partner and work on finding a balance in your living space. It's important not to avoid discussing this issue just because she is sensitive. Resentment builds up and causes more problems in the long run. Start by cleaning up together and setting limits on what items come into the house, treating it as a joint effort rather than placing blame on one person's habits. My fiancé and I kicked his mom off our wedding guest list. Now we are being shunned by his family. My fiancé and I have decided to not include his mother in our wedding for a number of reasons. Originally, he did not want her there, nor did I, but we agreed it would be too much drama to exclude her. She is a mom to 2 boys including my fiancé, and has always had an inappropriate relationship with the 2 of them, though it is much worse with my fiancé. He is the younger one of the 2, and she constantly talks about how she doesn't want to lose her baby and how she wishes she could have kept him a baby forever. This resulted in her bullying me for the past 9 years I have been with my fiancé. Once we announced our engagement and started sending out invitations, his mother was hysterical. She started begging him to call off the wedding, claiming she couldn't take it at her old age, she is 59, and that lots of young couples are choosing not to hold a wedding these days. We can't really be sure yet. We have been together for 9 years. It's a waste of money, etc. Things got even worse when we told her there would not be a mother-son dance, and we didn't want her having a major role in the wedding. She threatened not to come because it would be embarrassing for her, but she still RSVP'd for our wedding once we explained that we would not be calling it off. What caused us to back down and remove her from the guest list, though, was when she showed up to my bridal shower in her wedding dress. My mom had posted about my bridal shower on Facebook with open invites, so anyone who was close with our family was able to come, which was clearly a huge mistake. She had her wedding dress altered to be a bit shorter and fit her after her body changed a little. Most of the guest list was my family, as there are not a lot of women in my fiancé's family, but his mom's sister and a couple of his female cousins had shown up. My mom politely asked her to leave, to which she refused and said I was a brat for wanting to be the only woman in her son's life. I was not wanting a big scene, so I let her stay. About an hour or so later, my fiancé came to drop me some flowers. It's a tradition in our family that the man, or whoever is having the bridal shower, surprises the bride with flowers at the shower. When he came in and saw his mother's outfit, he was furious. He told her he was embarrassed to be her son and told her she was no longer welcome at our wedding. She got upset and blamed me for this, saying I brainwashed him and that he never would have said something like that if not for me. Surprisingly to us, his aunt sided with his mom and said it was nice that his mom even decided to come at all after we had taken away her mother's son dance and asked her not to take a big role in the wedding. They both left, along with the cousins, as his aunt was their ride. Hours later, his mom blocked me on Facebook but posted saying that we embarrassed her and that he is putting her in an uncomfortable spot by kicking her out of the wedding and that she is very hurt. The aunt backed her up by saying we were abusive towards them, and they advised the rest of their family to drop out of the wedding. Following this, we got several emails from his family dropping from the wedding. We expected his aunt to drop out, but so did his dad, both sets of grandparents, his cousins, and his family friends. His brother stepped down from being best man and has told us that their family is telling him not to go at all. We could not believe how many people decided not to come. The wedding is only a month away, and we've paid for all of their meals and bought centerpieces for their tables. We don't know how to salvage this further. In summary, my mother-in-law wore her wedding dress to my bridal shower, so we kicked her from our wedding. This resulted in a lot of family dropping off our guest list. Your mother-in-law is determined to ruin your wedding, whether invited or not. Your fiancé made the difficult decision to uninvite her for your sake. Donate the extra food to charity and stand by your husband, who showed immense bravery. Consider hiring security to ensure his family doesn't disrupt your special day. Am I the antagonist for telling my dad not to share stuff about me with my half-brother anymore? So my dad has my half-brother from his first marriage. He and half-brother's mom divorced when he was still a baby. Dad met my mother when half-brother was 6 and they got married when he was 7, and I came along when he was 8. He was 11 and then 12 when my younger sisters were born. My half-brother spent the same amount of time in both homes, so he was a big part of our early childhoods. I, 16-year-old male, had a speech delay when I was younger. I didn't say my first word until I was 3. And then I also had speech issues, including a stutter, which is the most noticeable issue. This was something I really struggled with a lot, and my half-brother's mom made it awful. My half-brother would tell his mom everything that happened in our house and everything going on with us, even private stuff. She would call me retarded or make fun of me in my speech. She would mock me if she saw us. We live in a small town, so we saw each other out a lot. She blamed my mom, said mom had faulty genes and was a bad mom for giving me that. She would also mock if one of us wet the bed when we were a little older. Half-brother refused to keep anything to himself. Dad took his ex to court, but they didn't care about this stuff. They said it was petty crap. It drove me crazy and made life very uncomfortable for me. A couple of times I ended up being diagnosed with selective mutism because the anxiety and stress from knowing my half-brother would tell his mom, and she would belittle and mock me were so bad. His mom approached me at half-brother's high school graduation and thanked me for ridding the world of my challenged voice, and everyone was so much better off. Stuff like that really used to hurt me, but eventually it made me angry because he knew how his mom was. I'm not close to him and I don't ever want to be close to him because he clearly doesn't give a care. I had an issue with a substitute teacher recently. She struggled to understand me, and it was pretty humiliating because she made a big deal about it. Dad told my half-brother about it, and guess what? He told his mom. So then I ran into her while I was out with my friends and she brought it up. Afterward, I asked my dad if he told his son about it, and he was like, of course. I told Dad his son told his mom, and why did he tell him when he knows that's what his son always does? He told me we're family, and he deserves has a right to know, so he's not in the dark. I told him he doesn't, and I don't care if it keeps him in the dark. That's where he should be when he blabs to his mom. My dad told me I wasn't being very compassionate or considerate of my brother and I was being very unfair. Am I the jerk? Not the antagonist. Your brother has no entitlement to your personal information. Your father should be looking out for you, not spreading gossip. Your father knows how psychologically damaging that woman's campaign of harassment is to you. He is a bad parent to both of you. He is cruel to you, not teaching his other son the consequences of betrayal. Am I the antagonist for dressing down my niece at a family function after accused me of being a Karen and said rude things about my daughter to our family? The only teacher that my 44-year-old female daughter, Sarah, 17-year-old female, has ever had issue with is Miss Jane. From what I've heard of Miss Jane, she gives special treatment to the more popular kids because she views herself as a popular kid and wants their approval. Miss Jane turns a blind eye to a lot of bad behavior from the more popular kids in her class. One of these more popular girls, Amber, had been bullying Sarah for weeks. Miss Jane witnessed most of the bullying directly yet said and did nothing about it. I had to escalate it to administration for anything to be done about Amber, at which point she was finally given detention and had her seat moved away from Sarah's in the classes they share. After this incident, Sarah said that Miss Jane seemed to take it personally on Amber's behalf and begun grading her assignments unfairly compared to the other students. The last straw was the recent project where she gave a presentation that accounted for a good portion of her grade. It was clear that Miss Jane graded based on her personal dislike of Sarah. Just one example was that she marked Sarah for standing in one place during the presentation and not moving more. This was not in the rubric, and Sarah confirmed with her classmates that Miss Jane had marked nobody else off for that. I again had to escalate this to administration for anything to be done about it. It took fighting with them for Sarah's grade to finally be raised to the one she deserved. I also put in a request with administration to transfer Sarah into another teacher's class. I told my sister, May, 40-year-old female, about this because naturally we talk about everything. The situation with my niece. Unfortunately, my niece, Chloe, 19-year-old female, decided to purposely misconstrue what happened in order to create drama at a recent family event. And it's far from the first time she's done something like this. I overheard her telling my, rather uncomfortable, dad about how I was a typical Karen, throwing a tantrum to get her kids away. She was saying rude things about Sarah too, accusing her of only passing because I whined to the school, which is not even remotely true. Sarah is on the honor roll because she is highly intelligent and works hard. I pulled Chloe outside for a word, and I did dress her down for the things she'd been saying both that day and at family functions before then. I told her that don't get if she's bored or insecure about herself, and that's why she needs to make up drama all the time, but I am done with it. I've bitten my tongue before, but I'd wanted to say that to Chloe for a while now. Chloe apologized and was silent for the rest of the event. May later called me to say I was wrong for how I handled Chloe. May agreed I was okay with being frustrated, but our relatives all know Chloe tends to dramatize things because it's just what people her age do. And there was no need to embarrass her like I did. Am I the asshole? If someone had dressed down my cousin as a teen, maybe she wouldn't be a drama queen, self-victimizing mid-30s adult. The only way for Chloe to learn to be a functional adult is through tough lessons. Her mother is doing more harm than good, especially considering even her own mother acknowledged that Chloe was exaggerating and basically stirring shit against you and your daughter. You don't have to put up with being lied about and having your character attacked. You took her to the side and reprimanded her for her lies and behavior, which was needed. Thanks for watching. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications so you never miss a video. To finish listening to all the stories, check out the playlist in the description.